The phone rang at 7 a.m. On a chilly October morning in 2024, shattering the quiet of my lakeside cabin in Willow Creek, a sleepy community nestled along the shores of Silver Lake, Oregon. I picked up, expecting a neighbor or maybe a delivery update. Instead, a voice sharp enough to cut glass backed, "Mr. Harper, I'm shutting off your water in 48 hours. No hello, no warning, just Laura Mitchell, the newly minted HOA president, unloading on me like I just touched her prized rose garden. My crime. Watering my fence at 10:15 a.m., apparently a capital offense in her rulebook. Her voice dripped with self-righteous fury, citing some non-existent, Section 52.6 of a regulation manual I'd never heard of. I set my coffee down, my pulse ticking up, and asked, "Ma'am, could you point me to that section in writing?" The line went dead silent. I swear I heard her flipping through papers, scrambling for a comeback. "I don't need to justify myself to rule breakers," she snapped, but the quiver in her tone told me she was bluffing. Laura wasn't just a nosy neighbor with too much time, she was a one-woman wrecking crew, drunk on her shiny new title. Willow Creek, a tight-knit cluster of 200 homes, had never seen anything like her. My cabin, a family heirloom perched on a private well since the 1970s, wasn't even hooked to the community's water system, but fact didn't faze Laura. She doubled down, accusing me of stealing water, her voice rising with every fake citation she threw out: Property Code 14.2, Insurance Clause 19.7, all pure fiction. I could picture her clutching a dog-eared binder she probably bought at a sketchy seminar. When I mentioned my well, she cut me off, screeching about community standards and insurance liability. It was clear she wasn't here to talk, she was here to dominate. I called my old friend Mike Larson, who'd run the HOA for a decade before Laura swooped in. His voice was heavy, like he'd aged 10 years in 10 months. "Ethan, she's tearing this place apart," he said. Laura, a recent transplant with a CPA husband who was always on business trips, had charmed enough residents with promises of professional management. Instead, she delivered chaos. She'd cited the Wilsons for their kids' swing set, claiming it violated the recreational safety codes. Old Mrs. Thompson got a fine for her bird, but apparently, it attracted liability-prone wildlife. The Garcias had to rip out their tomato garden over a made-up landscaping ordinance. Mike sighed, "She's got half the neighborhood scared to breathe, and the other half thinks she's saving us from ourselves." Laura's reign wasn't just annoying, it was dangerous. She'd slashed the HOA's maintenance budget by 65%, convincing the board that proper insurance made upkeep unnecessary. When Mike tried explaining that insurance doesn't cover neglect, she accused him of protecting shady contractors. I hung up with Mike, my gut churning. This wasn't just about my fence. Laura was picking a fight she didn't understand, and I wasn't about to roll over. That night, I dug into every database I could access: insurance laws, property codes, HOA bylaws. Every regulation Laura cited was a ghost. Section 52.6 didn't exist. Code 14.2. Pure fantasy. As I walked, I noticed a dark SUV parked across the road, its driver watching my cabin. When I stepped outside, it peeled away. My hands shook, not from fear, but from a cold, burning anger. Laura wasn't just lying, she was having me watched. By morning, I caught another car, this time with a guy snapping photos of my property with a long lens. I called my business partner, Nate Coleman, who runs Harper Contracting, the company that built Willow Creek's water system in 2008. "Nate, this is bigger than fake rules," I said. "She's escalating." Nate dropped a bombshell. "Ethan, we don't just maintain their water system, we hold the exclusive contract for repairs and shutdowns. Laura's threatening to cut off water you don't use, but we control the pipes her whole community depends on." He paused, then added, "And get T. Simeon's been sniffing around the county office, asking how to break our contract." Guess who? Laura was trying to oust us, not knowing her cost-cutting had already breached our agreement, giving us legal grounds to pull out entirely. If we did, her precious HOA would be on the hook for millions in uninsured repairs. I grinned despite myself. She'd picked the wrong guy to bully. Laura's 48-hour deadline hit like a storm front. At dawn, a caravan rode up my driveway. Laura's Prius, 2 pickups with equipment, a sedan with a photographer, and a van marked Pacific Insurance Solutions. She stepped out in a garish flamingo t-shirt and neon skirt, clutching her clipboard like a shield. But her plan unraveled fast. The insurance guy she'd hired, clearly embarrassed, interrupted her mid-rant. "Ma'am, these codes you reference section 14.2, clause 19.7 aren't in any regulatory framework I know." Laura's face went from smug to unhinged. "That's impossible," she shrieked, rifling through her briefcase. "Mr. Harper's intimidating my experts." The consultant shook his head. "I'm state licensed, ma'am. I can't back false claims." He walked off, leaving Laura screaming that I'd bribed him. Then the crowd turned. Mrs. Thompson, her voice trembling, held up photos of her flooded garage. $15,000 in damage because Laura told her to skip maintenance. The Wilsons shared how they'd spent thousands reinstalling their swing set after Laura's safety fines. One by one, residents spilled their stories, each a gut punch of loss caused by Laura's fake expertise. When she called the cops, claiming I was obstructing justice, the officer just raised an eyebrow. "Ma'am, where's the evidence?" That night's emergency HOA meeting was a circus. Laura's PowerPoint of my violations flopped when neighbors pointed out my well, proving I wasn't stealing a drop. Her supporters shrank into their seats as the room turned on her. But Laura didn't quit. She went underground, hiring investigators to tail my crew, photograph our gear, and dig into our contracts. Residents reported strangers asking about Harper Contracting's shady practices. One guy I cornered admitted Laura paid him to find dirt, though he couldn't explain what that meant. Her policies were crumbling Willow Creek. A family on Cedar Lane found lead in their water fixable with the maintenance Laura had cancelled. An elderly couple on Pine Road lost their basement to a pipe burst, uninsured because they'd followed her advice. The worst it was the Clarks, a young family whose water heater exploded, flooding their home. Laura had told them insurance covered everything, but their policy excluded maintenance-related failures. They faced $20,000 in debt, all because they trusted her. At 3:22 a.m. on a freezing November night, my phone lit up with calls from Nate, Mike, and the county dispatch. Willow Creek's water system was collapsing not from wear, but sabotage. Pipes burst in a pattern, hitting lines we'd flagged for tampering days earlier. Floods swallowed cars, ruined homes, and news vans were already there, filming contractor negligence. Laura arrived, transformed. No more flamingo shirts, just a sleek suit and a team of crisis managers. She told cameras Harper Contracting's gross incompetence caused the disaster, while coached residents, like the Clarks, blamed us for unrelated issues. Nate found the smoking gun, precise cuts in the pipes, made with industrial tools to mimic natural failure. This wasn't amateur horror, it was organized crime. The truth hit like a freight train. FBI agent Emily Torres called me, revealing Laura was a cog in a racketeering ring targeting contractors across 5 states. They'd infiltrate HOAs, fake crises, scapegoat locals, and install their own firms at jacked-up rates. Laura's theatrics are fake codes, public stunts were too loud, tipping off the feds. They had her on tape with crime bosses, bank records of shell company payments, the works. Her crisis manager act was a last-ditch effort to save a scheme she'd nearly blown. At dawn, agents cuffed her polished facade traded for an orange jumpsuit. The media skipped her arrest, but the FBI promised a full expose. Willow Creek reeled. Residents apologized, some in tears, for buying Laura's lies. The Clarks admitted they were pressured to lie on camera. Even Laura's diehards, like Mrs. Evans, were horrified their trust fueled a crime ring. Harper Contracting rebuilt the pipes, saving each home $6,000 in potential costs. Mike took back the HOA, restoring sane policies. Laura got 32 years for fraud, sabotage, and conspiracy. Her plea deal rejected. She was too low-level to trade big secrets. In court, she whined about being used, but the judge wasn't buying it. Sitting by Silver Lake, the water come under a pink dawn, I think about how close we came to losing everything. Laura wasn't a cartoon villain, she was a polished fraud, exploiting real fears to mask a criminal plot. It wasn't my smarts that stopped her, but the truth breaking through her lies, thanks to a community that finally asked questions. What do you think? Could your neighborhood fall for a Laura? Should HOAs have more oversight, or are they just magnets for power-hungry types? Drop a comment, hit like, and subscribe. We've got more wild stories coming.